Welcome back to the deep dive. And here in this video, for those of you all who haven't seen the previous videos we posted about this, I'm covering two topics in this one video. There's going to be a time where you as an entrepreneur have grown out of just working in your home office and you're going to want to find a place to do some work, or because of the fact that there's kids at home for the summer, or the next thing that happens that keeps us locked in like a pandemic, and you need to find a place where you need to work because everybody's at your house for whatever reason. You need to find a place where you can post up and have a professional environment to not just get work done, but occasionally host people for a meeting, or in order to film and record things, to curate content, as we talk about in the 5-ring framework in the sales process section of the workshop. Curating content is an important thing. I'm showing you here in this video that it's possible to curate content in very free, very cost-effective places like public library. Here I am at Cobb County Public Library, just coming here to get some work done because I sat down and realized that I need to answer the question that some people are coming to me with here in the test phase of this sales intensive trial process, and asking about the process of completing the customer discovery worksheets that we talk about, right? And I practice what I preach. The example you see here in the customer discovery workbook, you're going to see specific notes that I took about a persona that I wanted to reach for my sales training and consulting business in order to position the services I offer around developing sales training and content and curriculum for corporations. And that is the persona worksheet I use for that. And I've done it for several other personas. And for you all here in this phase of discovery, thinking about how to do a customer discovery worksheet, I want to walk you through the ways in which we talk about doing that worksheet as I find myself in a need in this test phase to study a persona I have not broken down yet. Now that I'm offering this workshop to organizations, groups that do maybe entrepreneurial incubator programs for large groups of individuals, I now have to position this course in a way that's going to appeal to the individuals who are in charge of those decisions. That's a persona I have to work through to master the value proposition to that individual and work on everything we talked about, how to craft that message, get a specific call to action that will resonate not only with the title of somebody who's a director of an organization, that's part of a profile, but within that profile, who's the individual that has the authority to make that decision, and what are their specific things? Black, white, short, tall, fat, skinny, old, young, male, female, veteran, non-veteran, all of those things are something that affect the way they make decisions. So I'm here today taking my own personal time to eat the own medicine I prescribed to you and working on my persona worksheet, handwritten on paper, to describe that individual in detail so that I can plan the campaign I intend to run as we finish the test phase of this workshop that you're in right now, and now market this workshop to the organizations and groups who could adopt it and bring it into their organization as part of the curriculum for all the entrepreneurs they serve. With that very clear goal in mind and how I would price and structure that, I am currently reusing this workshop, this workbook that you're in a workshop for right now, to plan that effort, to make sure that I go out and with a clear understanding of that persona, going into customer discovery, talking to as many of them as possible, not positioning my course first and understanding how they move and how they tick. I intend to refine this worksheet so that I know that I am an expert in that individual. And when I ask them a few questions, I can analyze based on what I know and prescribe value, position this course as a way to solve that problem, versus just coming up in front of them, dancing and saying, hey, here's this course, it's a great workshop, you should pay me to teach it to your people. I have to position it right based on what I know. So I'm using exactly what I need. Side note about worksheets in general. As an instructor, I understand that worksheets and filling out worksheets are a fantastic tool. They're the best way to help get a framework of thought into a student's head. But I want to let you know that as a kindred spirit, I know that filling out worksheets sucks. Even me here doing this exercise and practicing writing things down, it can suck. Like, it's not comfortable to get through it and get stuck. But I'm going to take you through how I fill this worksheet out. to give you a sense of how you can do it in a way that might be a little less painful, right? And hopefully, as you've probably attempted this once or twice before, you can use this to either refine the customer discovery worksheet that you've already filled out, or if you've been putting it off and looked at that big blank piece of paper and said, I'll get to it, I don't really know what to do it, this video can walk you through it. So if you're stuck on getting started on your customer discovery worksheet, let's walk through one together, all right? So first, on page 19 of the workbook, you'll see the explanation, the breakdown of how we structure the quadrants of that workbook. You'll see on the left-hand side of that upper right quadrant, conversations about the profile of the type of company, the role they have, where this persona will be found. And that profile is something you want to be clear on, because there are many profiles that you could serve in your business. You may have given it no thought and said, any company that has a credit card that they can swipe, I want to help them. Well, you have to narrow down on who you want to be an expert at, because it's hard to be an expert at everything. Once you've done that, get into the individual you want to serve. And the only way to do that is to think of an actual human being, a person that you know, that you've had experience with. If you're trying to sell to record music industry A&Rs and you've never ever met one in person, it'll be impossible to do something like this. You need to have some point of reference. You're probably pitching into an industry or a field that you're so far removed from that it's not time to try to market and sell to them. You need to do that discovery. But if you know the persona, you've sold to somebody, you've had conversation with somebody who's exactly who you are designing your product for, exactly who it's built for, get that person's picture, put that image up in that right-hand corner. It doesn't have to be full page like this. It doesn't have to be something that you fully take up that whole block, but you want their picture there so that you, during this exercise, can sit down based on the prompts on page 19. While looking at that picture, you can empathize and have a private with you and yourself conversation with that other person and ask those questions about, hey Susan, what do you really care about? What really matters to you? And just pour yourself as you stare at that picture and think about what you need to write. Now, as you're writing stuff down and you're starting to get your thoughts out, remember that this is a very important thing that you let it flow. And if you find yourself getting stuck on any area, if you're trying to fill out the mission and description section and you start to get stuck, remember, in your frustration, just pick up and go to another section. If you get stuck on mission and descriptions as you're writing things out by hand, and you can just switch to another section, come back to that other section later and continue to let it flow so that you don't let your pencil sit still for too long. Don't build that frustration. Let it flow. Keep moving. Jump from one section to the other as you start to move forward. The other thing that's important, because you're writing in pencil, don't feel as though anything you write down is in stone. Come back and erase and let it go. But I encourage you in this first pass as you're writing it out, just keep writing. Don't try to correct everything. You read something, it doesn't look perfect, let it stay imperfect. Come back to it later, but let the work flow so it gets out of your brain and onto the paper. And when you come back to it again later and look at it, then use that pencil to refine. The other thing as you're working, whenever you get stuck on a section, move to another one and you come back and you see something on that page, you might notice that you wrote some assumptions in there that are obvious. If you're writing something down and you use words like because, due to the fact that, those are assumptions that you have some sense. Maybe they told you that's what it was. And this individual you have a picture of explaining to you that that's exactly why they made that decision. But if it's a causation that speaks to their motivations and how they make decisions, that's an assumption you want to highlight. So I encourage you to just maybe underline that word, underline that phrase or statement, and put a question mark to it so you know it's something you want to validate and come back to in your customer discovery process. As you go out and you fit out those conversation guides, those are the assumptions you can build that conversation around. You think that this person is stressed because they're disorganized, or you think that they're disorganized because they lack priorities. They haven't set priorities in their life. You can meet and go explore that. Have a conversation, not about your product or services, but how do you manage your time? Do you manage your time by setting priorities. Oh, you don't have your priorities listed? Tell me more about that. And just that conversation, that exploration, helps you to know that individual and how to communicate to them and how to speak about their values. Identify those as you're going down and writing down this worksheet. As you expand that knowledge in your subsequent visits and customer discovery conversations, don't feel as though you have to stay on this one page. The worksheet is that framework of thought to get you going. And once you have yourself in place, that you think you're on the right track, you can transition to other things to use. You also want to make sure that you do this worksheet for every persona that comes into your cipher. Specifically for this offering, for the Entrepreneur Sales Intensive, there are 3 personas I'm focused on. 3 alone. Just an entrepreneur, who I've entitled, call her Nina, New Founder. Gave that persona a name, and I have a picture of a real person right there on the page that I know, and I'm putting all of the things I know about this individual on that page. Nina, New Founder, Steve Stuck Founder, and moving on, I've just now created this persona for a yet unnamed owner or decision maker in an entrepreneur incubator that I want to make sure I reach out and find, right? And if you think I'm talking about you, it's probably not you, yeah? So that's it. Hope this is helpful here in this process. These deep dive videos are here to help you execute the exercises that are in the book. These exercises have helped me and at least a dozen other entrepreneurs who have gone through this work, and I know for a fact that this work has helped them to actually improve their revenue, not just because the knowledge they gained from the exercise helped them to now go back and sell. The process of doing the interviews and conversations after they wrote down this first bit of info and went out to validate it, turned into sales conversations right away, and they started earning, and their time out on the field just begat more time in the field, and now that activity got them into a revenue generating mode. So this right here, these first 2 modules are just enough to get you started and make improvements in your business. So use this worksheet, take time, as I'm doing right now today, 2 hours, I'm sitting here working on this persona worksheet so I can go back and more effectively market this one offering. And you do this persona worksheet exercise and do this discovery exercise for every persona that you want to target for the offerings you have. And if you have one of those offerings that's just for everybody in the world, pick the ones that you enjoy or know the most about right away. Get after those first. And hopefully, just the activity generates revenue in your business. Stick with the workshop. I know it's a lot of information. I know it's a lot of extra work, but these are the things that actually make money. So as long as you stick with it, you will too. Have a good trip, and see you on the next deep dive video.